I didn't have a business plan per se today because I knew people are going to be off because holidays and your students will be taking time off, and hopefully you guys get a little vacation time. But I've been doing quite a bit of reading like I usually do, and I started watching a couple of videos. I really like this gentleman, Simon Sinek, and I
Yeah.
watched a couple of his videos today just for fun. And I started taking some notes on what I'm doing there and what I'm doing some other things. I was watching Paul Garcia. Paul Garcia's got a site called America's Best Defense Pro. If you're not on that, I could invite you on because it is a closed group. Paul Garcia and I have been friends for years. I think we met in 1990. He's 18 years old. He had a school in Providence, Rhode Island. Had about 200 members at that time. He was an 18-year-old. He was on Team Paul Mitchell. He was their middleweight fighter. Real dynamic individual. Him and I became friends at a tournament over a fight. He got in with one of my students. I had a student who wouldn't break at break, and then all of a sudden him and Paul got into it. Paul and I started talking after that, and we started keeping in touch. He came down to my school in Florida. Kind of started following me. In fact, he used to come down to my school every 3 months in Florida, bring his uniform, and stay a week. He would just, I just want to get on the floor. If you need me to assist or something like that. And so he was really, really sharp. I ended up hiring him as an instructor for my school in Florida. He sold this school with 200 students to Greg Horton. Some of you guys may recognize the name Greg Horton. He's a lot of Facebook. He does a lot of consulting. He's got several schools up there doing really, really well. And then Paul eventually became president of my company, United Professionals. He started as a consultant and then moved up to president. In the late 90s, he started missing the interaction with students. So he came to my office one time and he says, I'm going to go back to Rhode Island. He says, I want to open a school again. I want to have that feeling of the connection with the students. I know I do a lot here at UP talking to school owners, and that gets passed on to students, but I want to see it myself. So we've remained friends for a long time. And again, he's got that website, America's Best Defense Pro, and right now he's doing a series on training staff. So between my interaction with him, my watching videos, and the reading I do, I started a couple like 7 things that I was just reminded of that I feel really are important to not only have a business, but really to excel in your martial arts school. Number 1 is patience. We all want things really, really fast, and I've had some really good months where I've enrolled quite a few students, but they say it takes like 10 years to become an overnight success. So you really have to be patient with the growth of your school. You have to be patient with your growth. When I was watching a video for Sinek today, he was saying that when you go to the gym, you work out, you come home, you look in the mirror, and what do you see? He goes, nothing. There's no change. Then you go back to the gym the next day, and it's no change. But you see things on Facebook. I was looking at pictures of a woman today. She had a 3 years progress, like 190 pounds to 140 pounds. She was looking really good. Well, that didn't happen overnight. It happened over a year. But she had to have patience, and she couldn't get upset and give up, which kind of leads into number 2. This is a subject I talk a lot about with another friend of mine. His name is Doug Bertrand. Doug's got a school in Vancouver, Washington. When I first met him, he was on another martial arts team as a competitor. I went to visit him. He had 50 students. He decided he didn't want to compete anymore. He wanted to become a school owner. He became a client. We became real good friends. I visited him a lot in his school. Now he has 2 schools. He's got 650 plus students in each school, doing really, really well, good staff. And when I talked to him about what made the difference, Doug, because I started with a lot of people coaching. Not many people have done what you have. Having one school of 650 students is a lot. Having 2 schools with 650 is amazing. A lot of people can do it one time, but duplicating results is something else because you can't do both of them. So what Doug did is he actually stepped back and trained people to run both of his schools. And he says it's consistency. You know, once I start working in something, it's consistent. If I'm teaching great classes, I make sure that when my instructors hit the floor, they've got the mindset, this is going to be the best class I ever taught. If I'm doing an intro process, I don't skip around corners because all of a sudden I see someone come in and I go, I think this is going to be an easy sale. He goes, I never think that. I always give them the service I do with every single student. When I'm going through the PGs and I'm saying, hey, this guy's got it. I don't have to worry about him. No, yeah, maybe he's got it. He's enthused, but I'm going to still go over the PGs with him. So consistent. Consistency is going to give you growth in students. For you guys who've known me for quite a while, we talk about setting new student goals. And I say, I really like setting a goal of 10% of your active count. The reason I like 10% of your active count is if you're teaching good classes, you're probably only going to lose between 3 top 7%. So if you can grow your students by getting 10% new per month, you can net anywhere between 3 and 7%. So that doesn't mean, hey, I had a real good month in October, I'm going to let it just slide in November. No, consistency and growth means that we're still going after that 10%. Come December, we know December is slow, so we're going to have to increase our marketing because we want consistency. We're still signing up those new students. Consistency in gross. Gross can go faster than the growth of new students. So if you're growing by 3% on new students, you can actually increase your gross by 10% because of how much the students are paying and those students that are paying in full. So when you start looking at your numbers and say, okay, I did this last month, I want to increase my gross by 10%. So increasing by 10%. One of my biggest fans or that I'm impressed with is Tom Baker. Tom Baker's probably been doing this for the last 3 years, where he's almost every single month seeing increase, and that increase is up to 10% per month. That's why he was grossing $17,000 a while back, and now he's consistently grossing $60,000. We talked about classes. You know, every time we hit the floor, it's our best class ever. The most important person in class isn't the instructor. The most important people in class are our students. So we're a service-based business. We have to be consistency or in action with that. Next thing is team development. You can't do everything yourself, or you can do everything yourself actually to a certain point. But then when you still want to keep growing, you do need team behind you. Consistency in team training. Doug Bertrand, Paul Garcia, my friend Tony Hall down here in Florida, they're consistently training their team. They're having 3-hour meetings, and then they're having short meetings towards the end of the week. So on Monday, they're having a team development meeting. And it's, again, a lot of it is just like teaching martial arts. When you teach martial arts, you want your students to get good at all the basics. So it's repetition. Repetition is the mother of skill when we're learning martial arts. Repetition is the mother of skill when we're training our team. If all of a sudden you start thinking, I think I can taught my team everything, start watching more videos online. I was, again, doing Simon Sinek today. And he just told a cool story, and I ended up talking to this about the team in Rainmaker today. He was talking about going to the Four Seasons Resort in Las Vegas. And he said, I really loved just getting a cup of coffee because the bistro guy was just so cool. He was so happy. In fact, the last time I was there, I gave him 100% tip because he was just doing so well. I asked him, what makes you so happy at work? He goes, it's the people I work for. You know, throughout the day, people are coming in, or in management or supervisors, and they're talking to me, and they're asking me, what can we do to help you do a better job? He goes, I really like that team. He goes, in fact, in the evenings, I go to Caesar's Palace. I do the same job. I hate that job. He says, why do you hate that job? Because all the managers, all the supervisors keep coming over to me, find fault with everything I do and try to tell me to do it different. He says, it's just the way they're nurturing me in the different businesses. Well, I mean, that's one thing that I learned today. Like, actually, it's how people feel. They have to be needed and wanted and trained. So if you run out of things to do, there's so much information in books you can read and things you can watch. Tracking results. One of the things I ask clients to do is send me an AIR report. AIR report just shows the activity you did for the day, how many entries you set for the day, and your results. That's it, So you think about your 8 marketing pillars. What activities did you do towards your marketing pillars? How many intro classes did you set? What are your results? Pretty simple, but it's amazing how many people stopped sending these. It started to become a habit, and then all of a sudden they probably didn't get any results, or they had 2 days of activity, so instead of getting back on track, they just stopped doing it. It's really important that you track your results. The only way you can know that you're improving is by seeing your numbers. It's just like keeping score. If you play golf, you go bowling, whatever, if you're going to get better at those type of sports, you have to keep score. Once you keep score, now you're striving to do better at certain things to improve that score. Next thing is consistency and goal setting. It's one of those things that I talk to as your coach towards the end of the month. Make sure you set your goals for next month. Then when you set your goals, one of the biggest numbers and one of the numbers that you constantly want to watch is the gap. What's the gap to the goal? You don't want to have a bad month, and no one should have a bad month if you're watching your numbers. It's sort of like a student. Should a student pass a stripe test? Yes. Well, why should he pass a stripe test? Well, I'm watching him every class. If he's not getting the stuff, it's my job as an instructor to make sure I get him ready. I'm going to give him some extra help. I'm going to do whatever. It's all about goal setting. I know the gap to the goal for my students. Well, I need the gap to the goal for when I set my goals. And then just implementation. I see Dave. Dave's been working with me for about 6 weeks now. He's really good at implementing. I talk about scheduling, he sends me over a schedule. I talk about curriculum, he sends over the curriculum. So he's getting things done. It's not just getting in his head, but it's getting on paper and it's getting done. Network. You have to, or you don't have to, but it really helps you if you network with 2 or 3 other people. There's 2 or 3 other school owners that you're checking numbers with. So it could be like, I'm going to start emailing Sal once a week and just see how he's doing, what he's doing different, not only for inspiration, but just to help educate you. Maybe you're trying something, you're not getting results, someone else is getting results. So you really got to look out for 2 or 3 other people that could become part of your network. One of my habits is I read. And right now it's like, just a little personal history on me. Last Easter, I became a Christian in this church. I got baptized very, very soon after that. And so I really want to learn as much as I could about the Bible. So I started reading every day. Every day I start off my same way. It's 45 minutes. I love doing it. I found out a couple of my clients were also Christians. Steve D. Castile, Tom Baker, and I, we share the same thing. So we all read the same Bible from online, and then I network with those 2 or 3 guys. So it's all about what you're doing to build yourself. If you want to read books, I like to read online. I really like to watch videos. After I'm done reading, I'll probably spend another 15 to 20 minutes. Today, I just kind of looked up this quote, learners are earners. The more you know, the more you grow. And the reason I looked those up, I was just looking for a graphic to put on the advertisement for this meeting. When I pulled up those things, I started reading about Warren Buffett. And it was talking about Warren Buffett reads, I think, 5 newspapers a day. And then he reads all kinds of financial reports. I mean, it's not just by chance he became ultra wealthy through the stock market. I mean, he studies it like crazy. He's doing that for years and years. But the more you learn, the more you earn. So I really think that part of your day, some people like to read at night. Some people like to read just during the day. I have a friend who's got a school in Fort Collins, Colorado, and every once in a while he'll post a picture. I started following him just because he's got a cool dog. He's got a bulldog. He takes a picture of himself with the bulldog, and he's got his feet up on the desk, and he's got a book, and it's like he likes to read in the afternoon. But all top school owners are learners. So doesn't really matter if you're listening to, like, when I was growing up, I was listening to tapes. I think the first one I'd listened to was Tom Hopkins. Tom Hopkins had a tape series called The Official Guide to Success. He was really good at scripting. I used to listen to those all the time. So enough about me, but again, that's just kind of my recommendation, that you put learning or reading or watching or listening to something inspirational, something educational on a day-to-day basis. Next one is own your power. Own your power is really believing in yourself, in your intuition. I see so many school owners that I start to work with, and then all of a sudden they say, a couple of my older black belts really got upset, and they like the way we used to do things. And I go, that's great. If they're paying your bills, they're putting food on the table, that's great. But if you're really building your business, you see what's going on in the industry. If changes have to be made, own your power, man up, and just do it. One of the biggest things I had to do as a school owner teaching Kempo when I wanted to teach kids was to abandon the traditional style, become more eclectic, still teach the principles, but make it kid-friendly. It was never kid-friendly. When I did that, a lot of people started saying that I was selling out, I was doing this, I was doing this. They said, I've been teaching Kempo for 20 years. I've only promoted 10 black belts. I go, well, good for you. That's not what I wanted to do. So, but if I listen to other people, change my opinion on something that I felt very strongly with, that's letting them control my life, and you've got to own your own power. Next thing is celebrating victories. I don't care how small. I remember when I moved from Connecticut to Florida. Now, this was a big change. When I was in Connecticut, I had 5 locations. I had 2,300 students. I was doing really well. I decided I wanted to have a mega school location. I decided I wanted to live in Florida because I really like boating. I remember sitting in my house one time in Connecticut, and I looked backyard in my boat. It's covered with snow. I go, I gotta move to Florida. I'm not gonna do this any longer. So I made those changes. But the thing was, I celebrated victories. One of my first things I set for, and it was a real small goal, I'm going to buy myself a bass fishing rod in reel after I get, I don't even know how much it was. It could have been 100 students. And I made a big celebration. I made a big celebration out of that, just like when I had 300 students, my victory celebration was I was going to buy a Jaguar. I always want to have a Jaguar car, but I wasn't going to do that at 300 students. But celebrate your victories. And now Sal goes, well, this is kind of contradictory to you telling us to save money. Yeah, I do want everyone to save money, invest in their future, but at the same time, when you have victories that you can afford and that are going to propel you to do more and live at a higher frequency, I just think that's really important also. So that's my kind of just meandering thoughts of the day. And I just kind of want to share it with you guys. I don't know if you had any big comments, concerns, things you want to talk about. Oh, Dave, I've got to unmute you, sir.
Okay.
Good.
Right at the beginning, when you talked about looking at Paul Garcia, what was the first name of the guy that you said there, the videos that you like to look at? It was the first one, then you said Garcia.
Paul Sinek. It's Sinek.
Paul? Okay.
No, it's
Paul Simon.
Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
He
then,
wrote a book called The Power of Why. It's a good book.
Make that note too.
Dave, I think you're the only one in this group who's never read the other one too. I Am a Badass.
I Am a Badass?
Yeah, good book.
I think it's You Are a Badass by some chick.
Oh yeah, You Are a Badass. Not I Am a Badass. You Are a Badass.
That's what made me get to Tesla.
Yeah. This woman, Jen, her last name begins with S. She just writes with a good sense of humor. It's a really powerful book about the law of attraction.
Okay. I can get that on Amazon in about a minute here.
Yeah, and that motivated Sal to be sitting in his Tesla right now. In the black behind that car as a result of reading that book.
Awesome.
All right, guys. You guys all have a great Thanksgiving. Stay
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy. Mr. Brown, I will talk to you tomorrow.
Are we talking today yet?
Yes, sir.
Oh, what time?
We can do it either in 4 minutes as soon as I close this down and I'll open up again, or we can do it at 12. It's totally up to you. Or 1. Totally.
Let's do the 4-minute thing.
Okay. See
Okay.
you back
Okay.
shortly. Bye.